My guest today is Canadian writer-director Colin Ludvic Racicot and his Oscar-qualifying animated short film, Where Rabbits Come From. Now, Where Rabbits Come From captivated audiences of all ages during its international film festival tour, winning multiple awards in the process, including becoming Oscar-qualified. The film was produced by rising talents of Simon Allard and Bertrand Paquette, also founders of Outpost MTL, and marks the debut of Studio Nylock, embodying its artistic vision of creating inspiring works that showcase the exceptional talents of Quebec artisans. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome writer-director Colin Ludvic Racicot and his Oscar-qualifying animated short, the absolute incredible Where Rabbits Come From, to the show. Welcome, Colin.
Hi, how are you?
I am doing great. First off, I want to kick this off to the past. When did you get interested in animation?
Wow, I mean, since I'm a little boy, I've been watching so many Disney movies, Robin Hood, 101 Dalmatians, Nightmare Before Christmas, all these amazing films have they inspired me so much. So, but I waited a long time before doing an animation film. Like, I think I directed this one when I was 31, so it's been a few years. But yeah, so I waited a long time. But when I was ready and I was inspired and I had a great story to tell, I dived in.
Well, when did you start drawing?
Oh, I mean, I've been drawing since, like I said, a little boy. I've been drawing at school a lot. Didn't listen, and I did pass, but I'd made great drawings. So yeah, I drew a lot. Did a lot of comics as well. That helped me shape a bit my vision, my style. And at some point, I was like, if only these drawings could move. If only.
Well, that's really cool because I never gave it any thought until now, but for an artist to, let's say, create their own comics, their own comic book, they're already getting into the fact of creating their own storyboards. And then, like you said, how do I make this where the characters are moving?
Mm.
And so I had the pleasure to watch your newest animated short, Where Rabbits Come From, which is a beautiful film. First off, how long did it take you to go from conception to completion?
3 years, something like that. I didn't do this on my own. Obviously, I've been working with a lot of really creative people from around the world. But the first thing was the idea. I had the idea, I started doing the script, the storyboard. Took a long time, and then it was during COVID, so we worked with people like from home, so part time. So it was kind of a challenge just managing all these schedules. But yeah, so it took 3 years, and production was 1 year, and then we did the editing, compositing, music, and yeah, 3 years. That's a long time.
Yeah, it's so funny because I talked to so many film directors with live action films, and
Mm.
you hear the stories of, oh yeah, we did this in 4 days, or we did
Yeah,
this in 6 days, especially when it comes to the short films. But then with
yeah,
animation, I mean, I'm hearing stories of anywhere from 10 months if you put your nose to the grindstone, and like you
yeah,
said, upwards to 3 years. And I've even
yeah.
heard, even on average, sometimes it takes 5 years
Wow,
to bring
I'm
an
not surprised.
animated film or an animated short to
Yeah.
life. Did it seem like a long, drawn out process to you?
I enjoyed it, every second of it. I think actually I enjoyed it more than doing live action because you have time to plan, you have time to, think your story through. And the thing that I love is when you're doing your storyboard and animatic, you like pre-making the film. So you have a good idea of the pace, of the feeling of the film. And it's like seeing the foundations of your story in front of you. So then it's really inspiring, and people get on board seeing that. So just every step of the way is really inspiring and fun, and I enjoyed the process a lot. And for me, 3 years what passed in a heartbeat. It wasn't that long because it was just so much fun to create.
Well, then let me ask you this, because as I was watching the film, and I always want to know the backstory, and especially when it comes to animation, how certain things are done. I know in animation now there is so much more technology
Mm.
for the creation of an animated film than there was in the past, where you know it and I know it, where Disney was drawing
Yeah.
frame by frame.
Mm.
With this film, was it still drawn frame by frame, or what process did you take the
Yeah.
characters to get them to move?
Well, first of all, doing the storyboard was not frame by frame, but I drew all the frames, all the compositions, but that's why it was such a long process. But doing the actual animation, the actual design, we've been working with Toon Boom Harmony for the animation and Photoshop and stuff like that. So there's so much possibilities. Obviously, working with digital and softwares and everything. But what I can say about traditional animation is that we still try to achieve that traditional look because it's what inspires me, and I think it's really beautiful and organic, and it feels just so much natural when it has this traditional feeling. So every step of the way, we really tried, we tried to nail down that look and that feel, that texture, that dark and grainy texture. And I think it suits the film really well. It suits the story, the themes, as you may have seen, obviously. And so I don't think I would have the patience to work like 100% traditional. I'm not that patient, but who knows? Maybe one day.
Well, I love the film, and the look of the film is
Yeah.
absolutely fantastic. But what was the inspiration behind the story?
Yeah. Well, there's two things. First of all, I've always been really inspired by the world of magic, illusionists, and all of this is really like a world that I felt like I should explore at some point in my life as an artist. Um, and obviously, I've been a great fan of Sylvain Chomet's work, The Illusionist, and I thought, if only I could. I wonder what happens inside, that the magician's hat. I'm just curious, but that wasn't enough to do a story. That's just a concept. That just, you can do a, you have to, you need a story. So, but a story was more about, I became a father, so I have two daughters, and that sense of wonder and awe, drawing with the kids, trying to stimulate their imagination. All of that is so pure. It's so much fun. I was like, that's the story. It's the bond between the father and his daughter, the unbreakable bond, and I felt like that's the story. Now they're rabbits. So that's why I kind of blended two ideas, and that's how it came to be.
Yeah, I love the use of the rabbits as characters. Now, why did you choose the setting of a dystopian world? And because of the story, I don't want to pry, but I mean, if this is based on, I guess, part of your story, I mean, you're not widowed, are you?
No, I'm not. Don't worry, I'm fine. Everything's good. No, no, no. It was really just the relationship that was inspired by my own experiences. But it's a good point. And people, when they think about magic, they think about something maybe, yes, obviously that's mysterious, but it's also something that's kind of strange and dark for me. Like, I don't want to talk about dark magic here, but it's just the fact that these tricks are happening and it feels just so weird. I felt like if we're diving in the magician's hat, it needs to be kind of, this, I don't want to say dystopian, but yeah, dystopian. Just the feeling that imagination is not allowed in a magician's hat feels like ironic, and I think it's a good way to tackle that universe. It doesn't make any sense that imagination is not allowed inside a magician's hat, but at the same time, he's kind of the god, and you can see God's hand in somehow. I don't want to spoil the film,
No, no,
but
no, no. And
yeah,
I'm not going to give the ending away of this film
yeah,
either. So, but you brought up something that just popped into my mind because
yeah,
of the dystopian setting.
yeah,
It also plays into the fact that the father and the daughter, they're kind of going through the motions of life.
yeah,
Life has become bland, maybe
yeah,
boring, and he starts to see this lack of life, so to
mm,
speak, uh, with his daughter.
Exactly.
And but in this story, you kind of leave us with a mystery as to
Hmm.
what happened to the mother. Why?
Yes.
Why?
Well, I mean, I tried building this. I tried building the story in a way that the audience would feel engaged from the beginning to till the end. So I didn't want to reveal too much. And obviously, in a world where rabbits or doves disappear mysteriously, I didn't want to spoil too much and say too much early on, and just leaving the mystery of the disappearing mother felt like a good mechanism to keep the audience going and watching the film, and just as it unfolds, see how it happened and what happened. And I think it pays off in the end.
It does. And the animation really caught my eye because it's absolutely incredible.
Mm.
How did you decide on the design of the
Yeah.
characters? And did you draw any inspiration from any other or a particular
Yeah.
type of animation?
Yeah, well, obviously the story was, as you said, it's a dystopian world. It's kind of bleak, but I wanted to still feel that the characters were appealing, and we could feel attached to them without being too cartoonish. So we started, as early on in the process when we designed the characters. What we did is we tried many types of kind of framing and character design. Some were more realistic, some more dark, and we kind of found a middle ground where the characters felt like we could create a bond with them, and they were cute, but at the same time they felt so despaired, and you could feel the sorrow in them. And I just thought it was a great playground having these designs. Like, there's emotions that we can play with these design, because we didn't want to go too much over the top, but at the same time keep kind of this down to earth emotional performance in the characters. So yeah, we found a middle ground for the characters, but we put them in a setting that is so dark and bleak that they kind of pop, and you want to be with them, and you feel like they don't belong there. They need to get out.
That's true because, and I love the fact that the way you created the characters, they're very relatable to the audience. There's
Mm,
a soft tone to the characters that as rabbits we love them. I mean, I'm
mm.
glad that you didn't pick doves because that would have never worked. but the rabbits work, the design of the characters
Yeah.
work because the audience can relate to them.
Mm,
Each character projected their emotions
hmm.
absolutely perfectly. And I got to looking at the film and I'm like, what does this remind me of? And I got I had to really think back because, like you
Mm,
said, when you were a kid, you watched all the Disney animated
yeah.
uh, cartoons and the movies, and I'm like, this even the dystopian part has a little
Mm.
bit of that dark side of 101 Dalmatians,
It's 100.
and,
Well, yeah.
and it has a little bit of the now, even though there's no live action in this, it also kind of reminded me of the original Mary Poppins with Julie
Yeah.
Andrews and Dick Van Dyke. So it has a little bit because I think Disney used a little bit of animation in that film. And so I'm looking
Yes.
at this, I'm like, yeah, I could see some possible inspiration from the
You've nailed
past.
it.
Yeah. Did I?
You've nailed it. Yes, because when we started designing the backgrounds and the whole, overall mood of the film, pictures of Mary Poppins, of Peter Pan when they're in London, 101 Dalmatians, obviously this kind of, sketchy, uh, the lines, the textures feel so, not like charcoal, but, it feels
Yeah.
bold. And yeah, exactly, I think you know what I mean. And the
Oh yeah,
lighting,
because you nailed the
the
nighttime. Yeah, because when
yeah,
it's dark
nighttime,
outside,
exactly.
that's
Yeah,
you nailed that with the inspirations from those other
yeah, foggy
films.
London night. Exactly.
Yeah, yeah, because
Yeah.
it brings the thought of the animated past
Hmm.
into the future. But there was something that really impressed me in this film.
Mm.
And it has to do with the animation because you are the first one that I've seen that makes the use of sepia tone of color
Mm.
to project a happier life. And when I
Yeah.
saw the transition of the black and white,
Mm.
I guess I want to call it black and white,
Yeah.
but going into that sepia tone of
Hmm.
color, which, we all know that color is associated with the past, so you use that to project it. But I just love the transition.
Yeah, well, that's one of my favorite scenes of the film. And it's, sometime as an artist, you have this kind of, you have scenes or moments that you always think of and it just haunts you. And I could, I think early on, even before I had the whole script, like I just had the idea, and this scene was living with me every day. And I was like, this is it, the camera moves and we're entering a frame on the wall, and then this character starts moving and we're in this souvenir, this memory, and it's in sepia, and it just felt so warm. And so, the memory of your mother, it's just so warm. It's something that everyone can relate to, and I felt like this is the moment of the film. And with the music by Benoit Charret, you just dive into this emotional pool.
Well, yeah, and what you also did by creating that scene, you caused the audience, or I should say, you kept feeding us a bit of the mystery
Mm.
as to what happened to the mother. So you don't forget the mother in the beginning because you have that shot of the family picture uh, in the black and white tone,
Mm.
but you don't ever let the audience forget her, even though we don't know what happened to her. And then you
Mm.
bring this into that element where the sepia tone just comes in to the picture, and you use the perfect word. It was warmth
Mm.
that was projected because you're going
Yes.
from cold and dark, and then you're
Yeah.
coming in to warmth, but because they're thinking about the happiness of the
Yes.
past. But then the father is still thinking, what can I do to bring the happiness to the present?
Yes, exactly. That's you've nailed it. I mean, it's the really the feeling I wanted to convey with that scene, and just the whole film, the film as a whole. Because as a father, like it's a daily challenge just to try to bring and infuse joy and happiness and kind of stimulate the imagination of your child that's discovering the world. I didn't have this tragic, I didn't, she didn't lose her mother or anything, but it's just, like, I really wanted to transpose this kind of daily struggle of being a father, a parent, just trying to make sure your kids, your children are always happy.
Yeah, and I'm glad that you didn't give us a Bambi moment and you didn't give us a
Oof.
Mufasa moment. So
Oh my god, I cannot. The Lion King, that scene, it's just, ah, boy. I think we're all traumatized a little bit. Thanks to
I
Disney.
think Disney likes to inflict pain every
Yeah,
once in a while,
yeah.
but then as this film moves along, you give us this incredible, I mean, it hits us in the face, this incredible burst of color with the
Mm,
carnival, the circus. I mean, it's the magician pulling a rabbit out of the hat.
mm,
And I think that the burst of color was magnified by the fact that you use the cold black and white dystopian world. And I
yeah.
just love the transition because it hits us so hard, and it's like being hit with a burst of happiness and joy
Mm, yeah.
instantly, and you don't forget it.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I wanted to do. And, you know, it's I remember, I have a clear memory of me drawing with my daughter, and that's in the film. Actually, the father draws with his daughter, and the feeling, just you lose track of time and you really feel present. And that's when you're happy, when you feel that you're in the present and you forget everything else. That's a sign of happiness, I think. And the magic coming out, of the drawings, the colors bursting out in this cold world. But it's not a cold world anymore. It's the burst of magic. It's all about that. And I think it conveys the emotion you have when you're happy and in the present moment, and the butterfly coming out, everything. I don't know. I really tried to put some realistic feelings and convey them in a magical way. Really.
Yeah, and I see now with the bright colored scenes, especially
Mm.
with the circus or the magician.
Yeah.
I was looking at it and I'm like, what does this remind me of? And the style is very vaudeville type,
Yeah.
which I loved.
Mm.
And and I guess just for the moment, because of pulling the rabbit out of the hat, it reminds me of the original Frosty the Snowman,
Wow.
where the magician's got the hat and he's pulling a rabbit out of it,
Yeah.
and just that type of movement. But of
Mm.
course, your animation is far more beautiful than what Frosty gave us. And, but that whole style, I mean, when you created the whole circus carnival
Mm.
scene, what was the inspiration behind that? I mean, especially in the design area.
Yeah. Um, it had to be similar in a sense in terms of strokes and everything with the world inside the magician's hat, but the inspirations really, it's all many inspirations come from traditional Disney animation, and either I just think these films are vibrant with colors, and that's a huge inspiration. And like I previously said, Sylvain Chomet has been an inspiration as well, and he's been a mentor on the film. And Les Triplettes de Belleville and The Illusionists, even his short film. So I worked with him, and just having him around helped me a lot. And yeah, in terms of inspiration, I think like the whole legacy of Disney really impacted me strongly. I think in a good way, hopefully.
Yeah, I think one of the greatest animated films ever created was Fantasia.
Yeah. Oh wow, that's one of my favorite film. It's one of the inspiration.
Because, I mean, think about it. When that film was made, I mean, we're talking, what, 70 years ago?
That was, I think it was in the
And
early 40s or end 38 or something like that.
was it that far back? Because I
I
kept
don't know.
thinking if
We
it
need
was
to
the,
look out. We need to look,
yeah.
but I think it's like 1940 something. I don't
And
know.
and to think that back in that day that
Yeah,
they could create such fluid motion
it's
of
incredible.
characters,
Yeah, yeah.
and that was all
And
done on gels.
I know it's really a work of art. It's such an accomplishment, and I remember vividly seeing that film. And there's magic in that, and the colors, everything feels so alive. You know, and now that we're talking about that, that's the feeling I really wanted to bring when they're being pulled in the hat. It's just feeling alive, feeling that there's hope, there's something greater, out there. There's something to cling to. There's colors beyond, and we can just with that spark of hope we can reach that. I know it's all really like poetic and stuff, but that's the thing I wanted to convey.
Yeah, well, I love the transition when you went from the dark black and white dystopian style, and then
Yeah.
you bring us the transition. So it's not like you're
Mm.
going from one to the other instantly.
No.
You bring us this purple, this orange, the stars and the sparks
Yeah.
that are transporting both the father and the daughter
Yeah. Yeah.
into this bright, colorful world. Now,
Yeah.
as I was watching the film, something really hit me, and when I looked at it, I went, "It's got to be." Is there any particular representation of the hand? And you said something earlier already, which kind of confirmed to me, but is there any particular representation of the hand coming out of the sun or the moon? Because to me, it was literally like the hand of God
Yeah.
delivering someone from a desperate world or a situation
Exactly.
and placing them in a more, well, heavenly place.
Yeah. Well, it's a bit of that because we're going through life, and we always kind of hope that there will be a godly intervention. I don't know to say that, but you always, if I need help, I need
Yeah.
some divine intervention, and it never comes almost. But I felt it's kind of I wanted it's kind of a fantasy. I wanted to play around with the script, and you know what, that's gonna happen because we're doing a film and we can do whatever we want. So I wanted to,
Exactly.
I'm like, let's go
Exactly.
wild, and I think it's just so satisfying for the audience knowing that it can happen. So you're just watching the sky, you're always watching the moon. Anyway, I just felt
No,
like
I
if
no,
you
I
have a
loved it. No, I loved it
yeah,
because I looked at it like, so many people wish a hand would reach out of heaven and pick
exactly.
them up and put them in a much better situation or a better place. And it just worked in this film because you use that as transporting. And
Yeah.
I'm not gonna give away too many of the other elements of the film because I want people to see this. I want them
Yeah.
to see it for the first time. I want them to enjoy it and experience it because you created an animated film that allows the audience to have an experience. You know,
Yes.
a lot of animated films, they tell the story and then
Hmm.
that's all they do. They tell the story, and it could be a very good story, it could be a moving story, but you bring us the magic of imagination.
Hmm.
And I don't see a whole lot of that in this year's running for the
Hmm.
Oscar.
Well, thank you. It's a high praise. I appreciate that. But yeah, it's I think as a filmmaker, I talk as a spectator as well. In the audience when I watch a film, obviously there's the story, but as an artist, what I want to see, what I want to create is transport the audience and use cinema, all the tools we have with cinema to make an experience that lives with the people afterwards. Sometimes you get out of a theater, like watch a nice film, like but I want people to think about the film, and feel like, wow, felt transported. I bounded with the characters. There was the magic. It just reminded me of my childhood, and all these elements: the music, the sound, the animation, the story. It blends in and creates this kind of world of magic. And yeah, I thank you. It's I praise, but as an artist, like that's what I wanted to make. I really wanted to create an experience. An
Yeah,
experience, not
and
just
that's
a
what
short
you.
film.
Yeah, it's kind of like Fantasia.
Yeah.
It gave us an incredible artistic, imaginative, and very
Yeah.
creative journey
Mm.
through the film. I mean, even if you watched the original Snow White,
Yeah.
you still
Magnificent.
feel a bit of the magic
Yes.
of that story. And you kind of do that with this film because I'm not
Yeah.
going to give the ending away, but what I loved about the way you brought the audience towards the end of this film is that everybody who leaves the theater is going to be asking themselves a lot of questions. And I've told so
Yes.
many filmmakers this year that one of the greatest things you can do with an ending of a film is to allow
Mm.
the audience, when
Mm.
they watch the film and they leave the theater, in their own mind, they're
Yeah.
writing the ending to your film.
Yeah.
And that's what's
Oh,
happening here.
yeah. I think that when we write it, like when we did the script, it was the main goal was, it's not open ended. There's still, kind of a it. You like you said, you make your own ending in a sense, but in my heart, I know what's the ending.
Yeah, I know you do. I know you do. And I
Yeah.
was kind of
Yeah.
and even in my own mind I kept thinking, I think I have the ending figured out,
Yeah.
but I'm not going to say anything. But
Yeah.
how did you get composer Benoit Charest to score your film? I mean, he's a Caesar award-winning composer.
Yeah. Well, like I said previously, I worked with Sylvain Sylvain Chaumet was a mentor on the film, so he helped me a lot during the process. And he's the one that suggested, "Oh, you should. Well, why don't you ask Benoit? He did the music for Les Triplettes de Belleville, and maybe he's gonna say yes." And I'm like, I mean, if you introduce me, of course I'm gonna ask him. And I asked him. He was super inspired by the film and engaged. and I gave him a lot of inspiration, but he really appropriated the film, and he really inspired I think the film is lifted by the music, really. And I wanted a really orchestral original music. I'm really a big admirer of musical scores like Ennio Morricone, John Williams, and many more. I mean, it feels when you watch ET and there's the music that just, you know what I'm talking about.
Oh,
It just
yeah.
transports the audience, and that's what I wanted to make. I know it's ambitious, but I wanted to create that kind of feeling of being transported by the music as well, and you're lifted. And I remember when we recorded the music with Benoit in Italy, we were in the recording session, and it was my first recording session for a music score, and I just entered and I was like, oh, and I'm sitting down, everything's going. I wonder if it's going to go well, and then the musicians, they start playing the music, the violins and everything, and it just hit me like a gust of wind. It just, you feel it in your belly. The music is just so powerful, emotional. It feels so like true. And we were really blessed to have Benoit on board. And I think the film is just really, I think the film is even more original and unique with his implication.
Now, how much of the film did you have to lock in for him to compose the music for it?
Well, it was kind of unorthodox. Usually, you kind of record the music after doing the animation. It depends. It depends on the way you see it. But I did the storyboard. Maybe half the film was animated, and we started recording the music. But like I said early on, the storyboard, the animatic, they were so like, kind of mechanical, spot on. It's kind of, the beats were really pre-made, and so when we recorded the music, it was just, yeah, of course it's a storyboard, but of course it's going to be exactly that length, and the beats will be the same or almost the same. So we didn't have, during the editing process and mixing process, it wasn't that much of a challenge. The music, it was really going in with the film like blocks, and it felt very organic.
Yeah, I mean, this film captures you in the very beginning. It never lags. It moves along so effortlessly, and the audience is there along for the ride and absorbing every scene, because the transition from scene to scene just works so well in this film. And it almost makes you wish that the film was longer, you
Yes,
know?
I wish. Yeah, I know exactly what you mean, and it was a challenge because I had so many things to tell. So many, I wish I could have made a feature film with that. Who knows in the future? But I think there's so much potential in that world, and I was holding myself back telling that story.
Yeah, I could see where you would want to take this, you know, for a much longer ride. And
Mm.
it's just an absolute beautiful film. And it has the look where it literally can stand up by itself among the animation, classic
Wow.
animated movies. So you've done a job well done. But what has been the reactions from the audiences who have seen the
Yeah.
film?
Yeah. Well, obviously, as a director, you always kind of, you wonder how people will react when the film gets out. But I was surprised because the film was made for everyone, and obviously there's a kind of a niche, youth, children movies niche as well. So when we started distributing the film around the festivals, it was taken in generalist festivals, animation festivals, and children's festival. It was really a melting pot, and I think it was a testament, really, of the kind of the universal reach of the film. Like, there's something for everyone in that film, and the reactions were just meeting the crowd and the children during the festivals. They had so many funny questions about the film, and they were really intrigued with the story. Why is the police so mean? Why is the neighbor so mean? Why, the magician? They were asking so many questions, and just seeing them, their faces and their eyes lighting up watching the film. And I don't watch the film when I go to the theater. I watch the people watching the film. I'm like, and like that, and just seeing the children looking at the film, and when the rabbits are pulled out of the hat, you can see the wow, and it's just so nice, that feeling of, ah, yes, job well done.
Yeah, I mean, even and I didn't even bring up how how mean the police officers were in this film. I think they were meaner than Cruella.
Yes, yes, they're really mean. I know, but that's my way of being cruel. We talked about Mufasa and Bambi, and I think setting up this whole regime of happiness and imagination, a liberty of imagination, of speech is not allowed. It just felt like I know I'm being cruel, but I feel like even for children's film, it's important to show some harsh facts of life, at some point, because they need to learn in a way. And I remember watching a lot of films when I was younger. Some of them are pretty dark, like we mentioned, and I think you don't have to hold yourself back if it's well done, and it's done with some logic and care. And I feel like the police are really obviously rude. It's a totalitarian regime, and it just feels right in the story though, and
It
there's a
does.
payoff at the
Yeah,
end,
it
so
does.
it's all good.
It does. And the other thing is, even though their reactions are very harsh within the storyline, their harshness doesn't steal
Mm,
the happiness that is
yeah,
in the film.
yeah,
And so I think when people see this film, that is not going to be the area in which they remember. It's not going to be like Lion King going, oh yeah,
yeah,
Mufasa died, and now we're all cheering on Scar. So it's not like
yeah.
that. And
No.
but you balanced out the storylines so well that
Mm.
in the end, people are going to be remembering the beauty and the happiness that this film actually brings. Now, which festival did you become Oscar qualified in?
Actually, it was the in May we won the Canadian Screen Award, it's the Canadian Academy for Best Animated Short. So that was the qualifying win.
That's a very very big deal.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we were really happy with it. Obviously, surprised because every step of the way, even though you made, we are happy with the result of the film, but we don't get you just go with the flow. You try not thinking about the outcome. You just want people to watch a film and feel good watching it, and then there's success, there's awards, there's festivals, and it just it's just a testament of how good and how well the team worked, and making this beautiful little film. And yeah, I mean, it's a huge deal, like you said, but in the end, we're just happy that people recognize us, doing this film.
Yeah, I can't believe that you got qualified in May because so many people, qualifications usually don't start until maybe mid June into July. I know some are still, I think there's a few Oscar qualifying festivals left where
Mm,
people can
yeah,
get in at the last minute. But
yeah.
now it's a full run to the Oscars now. So, what's going
Mm.
through your mind now?
I mean, I've been thinking about the interviews and preparing myself, and just trying to enjoy the moment. And obviously, uh, the whole campaign. It's so exciting to do because you're just reaching out and talking about the film, and just it's just a nice moment for us at the end of the run, and hopefully it goes even longer and we go till the end. But we'll see. Fingers
Yeah,
crossed.
it's gonna be a wonderful, beautiful ride. And ladies and gentlemen, where rabbits come from, well, it immerses viewers into a cold dystopian world, weaving a heartfelt tale of oppression and the unbreakable bond between a father and a daughter. A story of resilience, love, and hope in the face of darkness. Now, through stunning animation and the captivating score, the film follows a widowed father rabbit as he seeks to reignite wonder and magic in his daughter's life after the mysterious disappearance of their mother. Now, drawing inspiration from Colin's personal journey through fatherhood, this heartwarming film, again, has qualified for consideration at the 97th Academy Awards. Now, Where Rabbits Come From is a beautiful animated short film. The animation is a thing of beauty, and the use of color and color transition is perfection and adds depth to the telling of the story. Now, the music score moves us effortlessly from scene to scene, to the present, to the past, and into a very colorful future of hope and love. This is a must-see animated short film and absolutely deserves to be Oscar qualified and more. So, Colin, I want to thank you so much for sharing your incredible film with us today, and much success to you and your whole team on the road to the Oscars.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
You're very, very welcome. And hey, ladies and gentlemen, Where Rabbits Come From, you need to put that on your list. If you are going to be at a film festival and it is showing, make sure that you are sitting in that theater to experience an animated film that brings back the creativity and the imagination that we've always longed for from the past of some of the greatest animated films ever made. So as for me, well, you'll either see me at the movies or from the red carpet.